A pivotal moment for Israel-Gaza peace. Trump's strategic diplomacy unfolds in what could become a historic move towards peace. President Donald Trump is aiming to broker a ceasefire in Gaza next week. He is scheduled to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House as his team works to reconcile differences between Hamas and Israel. The aim? To free hostages and end hostilities in the region. But here's where it gets controversial. This high-level meeting comes after Trump's risky decision to strike Iranian nuclear sites and then negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, a decision that split his supporters, with some feeling betrayed by his promise to avoid new conflicts. Trump has expressed his intention to engage firmly with Netanyahu about bringing this conflict to a close. "I am optimistic we'll finalize an agreement next week," he mentioned to reporters on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Hamas is deliberating whether to consent to an altered ceasefire proposal brokered by Qatar and Egypt. These mediators are working diligently to bridge the differences in order to lay a foundation for serious negotiations to proceed. Hamas has publicly stated they are in discussions on Wednesday regarding a framework agreement to set the stage for more comprehensive peace talks. And this is the part most people miss. Netanyahu and Trump are expected to reveal not just a ceasefire agreement, but also a series of accords with neighboring Arab nations. This visit could prove to be significant, according to Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. In theory, Netanyahu holds stronger leverage to pursue a peace treaty, despite the opposition from the far-right factions within his cabinet. Netanyahu's popularity surged following the US-Israel joint strikes on Iran, enjoying the backing of 82% of Jewish Israelis, according to recent polls. Israeli officials emphasize that the tentative ceasefire offers them choices to continue their military efforts. It's not a commitment to end the war, Danon clarified. Under the proposed agreement, effective June 30th, Hamas would gradually release 28 Israeli captives, 10 alive and 18 deceased, over 5 phases within the 60-day ceasefire period. Humanitarian aid would promptly enter Gaza, coordinated by the United Nations and the Palestine Red Crescent Society. Upon the release of the first batch of hostages, the Israeli Defense Forces would withdraw from parts of northern Gaza, followed by a further withdrawal from southern regions a week later. Unlike previous agreements, Hamas would not conduct televised handovers of hostages this time. Furthermore, on the 10th day, Hamas would disclose the status of the remaining hostages, while Israel would provide details about the 2,000 Palestinians detained by Israeli forces during the conflict. The negotiations have faced hurdles due to differing core objectives. Israel seeks a temporary truce for hostages without ending the war, whereas Hamas demands a permanent halt of hostilities and full Israeli troop withdrawal. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has been striving to mediate a short-term ceasefire, with the revised deal underpinned by Trump's commitment to ongoing negotiations toward a permanent peace. Hesham Youssef, a former Egyptian diplomat, suggests Hamas might have little choice but to accept the US-led proposals due to limited regional support and exacerbated suffering in Gaza. An Arab diplomat involved in the talks remarked that Hamas might prefer to endure the status quo rather than agree to concessions at risk of further Israeli aggression. For months, Netanyahu has hesitated to finalize a deal that would see the withdrawal of Israeli troops and the release of Nabi captives. His coalition must contend with pressure from far-right partners who threaten to withdraw support if Gaza is not maintained under Israeli control. Israel's military objectives have largely been accomplished. Disabling Hamas's threat to Israel and ensuring the release of the hostages remains the next crucial step. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir stated last week that the IDF was approaching its war end's conclusion, bolstered by the weakening of Hamas following the recent conflict with Iran, their main supporter. Israeli officials aim to tie this peace agreement into a comprehensive regional deal that could fundamentally shift Israel's security landscape. Politically, Netanyahu doesn't have a better chance than now following the success against Iran, noted retired Major General Israel Ziv. Securing a regional agreement, initiating discussions with Syria, making headway with Saudi Arabia, and recovering the hostages is the greatest leverage he will have ahead of the elections. On Wednesday, Netanyahu indicated his willingness to discuss a deal in Washington in a letter to the court handling his corruption trial. Concurrently, his foreign minister, Gideon Saar, remarked on some positive signs regarding the US-led push to resume talks with Hamas. The more conservative parties within the government have voiced their opposition, signaling a united stance against the emerging deal. On social media platform X, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid offered a safety net to ensure Netanyahu maintains his parliamentary majority, even if right-wing members decay. Trump, defending Netanyahu against the corruption charges, tweeted, It's insanity what the out-of-control prosecutors are doing to Bibi Netanyahu, praising him as a war hero working toward peace. Kamal Abu Aun of Hamas indicated that Hamas leaders were engaged in constant efforts to achieve a comprehensive agreement that halts aggression in Gaza. A Hamas delegation is slated to discuss and vote on the revised proposal in Istanbul on Thursday. Recent discussions have also included a meeting between Hamas team led by Mohammed Daresh and Turkey Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan on Wednesday. The diplomatic surge began as Egypt and Qatar intensified peace efforts post the June 24 ceasefire, following the 12-day conflict between Israel and Iran. The Arab nations view this peace as crucial for stability in the region. Egypt's Foreign Minister, Bad Abdelati, in a phone conversation with Witkoff, stressed the need for heightened efforts, and also engaged in dialogue with Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan concerning aid and ceasefire actions. Beginning with the Hamas-initiated attacks on October 7th, 2023, which led to significant casualties, Israel's response has resulted in over 57,000 Palestinian deaths and more than 134,000 injuries, according to Gaza Health Ministry records. Recent airstrikes have continued to cause harm, including claims of airstrikes that have killed dozens in Gaza. The International Committee of the Red Cross has raised alarm over the escalating hostilities and the breakdown of essential services in the region, warning that such conditions could lead to a humanitarian crisis. The United Nations highlights the critical need for fuel to maintain humanitarian aid efforts. Parker reported from Jerusalem and Reuben and Soroka from Tel Aviv. Contributions were made by Miriam Burkett in Jaffa, Israel, Avi Cheeseman in Beirut, Heba Farouk Mahfouz in Cairo, and Hazem Baluja in Hamilton, Canada.